'Cause that means that if this show does go on for a long time, that means Paul's going to get old and decrepit. I'm drawn to Paul. I'm already getting old and decrepit. I don't need my virtual version to do the same thing. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we are back with another episode of Mushoku Tensei. Was screwed up there. We have no comments to go over, and I don't have as many notes as I did from before, because last time felt like a pretty straightforward episode. And as I've said many times before, when it comes to like the emotional resonance stuff, I react to it well. I absorb it well enough, but I don't tend to have a lot to say about it. Not unless something really striking happens, and Paul just having a conversation about his sexual escapades with Lilia doesn't really strike me as requiring a lot of conversation. But let's go ahead and just jump into these notes, and we can then get into the show. This might go against my previous worry that Paul would die, but I was watching the opening again last episode, and I'm actually pivoting my worry that Zenith might not be coming back alive. With when the title drops in the opening, we have current Rudy and current Sylphie. Then we go to current Rudy and current Aisha. Then we go to current Rudy and current Norn. Then from current Rudy and current Roxy to child Rudy and past Zenith from the last time that we saw her. Then back to current Rudy and current Paul. That just jumped out at me in the opening sequence. I understand where it could be jarring to show us current Zenith before we rescue her. But to be fair, the opening is also filled with the entire Zenith rescue party before we ever get there to see them. Some of them having changed their appearance since the last time we saw them as well, so it's clearly not a visual thing. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like what I'm getting here is that it's child Rudy and past Zenith, because that's the only memory of his mom that he will have going forwards, because she's dead. Whereas everyone else is just with them now. Might just be me reading into the openings, but, in shows that I'm super invested in, that's kind of what I do. So yeah, I'm pivoting away from Paul being the dead one to Zenith not coming back. I think I mentioned this before in my first opening breakdown, but also the scene where the Hydra battle, where they show Paul and young Rudy in their old pre-disaster front yard, and then it spins around to them in a fenced-in yard. I think I guessed that was a graveyard the first time, but it's clearly Rudy's new front yard. But it begs the question then, given my thoughts from a moment ago about Zenith's fate, why it's just Paul in that scene. Assuming they finish the labyrinth and get back home to Sylphette, why is only Paul in the shot? Just another hint, maybe, that someone's not coming home? If Zenith is trapped on the 6th floor of the labyrinth, and Paul's party can't get down that far, then who the hell did Geese talk to that told him that she's been spotted there recently? The first time we saw Geese again, he was begging to get more people to join their party to rescue Zenith. So is the implication that during their many attempts to reach level 6, someone else got down to level 6 and saw her, and then made it out again, but wouldn't give Geese any info on the way down there, or join the party to help? Clearly Geese got no intel from them, because he was shocked to get a book describing even level 3. Personally, I'm shocked that Paul didn't grab whoever this mystery level 6 person was and torture the intel out of them, considering the state he must be in. I guess I'm just used to the stereotype of the horrible mother-in-law that gets portrayed in media, because Elenice saying, "You're practically a son to me now," felt so familiar as to feel off given their relationship. There's also the element of the fact that it's a relation caused by his son's marriage, which is a step removed from him. Again, just basing things on media, but the typical thing you see is a couple getting married and having to put up with the wife's mother. This is Paul having to put up with his son's grandma. Thankfully, I made that board edition to keep track of the family now. And I know it's been a while since I've shown the board because nothing's changing on the board, right? No one's dying, no one's relationship is different from how it was before. Like, maybe Elenice and Paul are more friendly than they were before, but I've never really had them together on the board, so that connection doesn't really change at all. The only things that ever change on the board now is when I add additional connective tiers, like the whole family relationship chart or the god tier stuff. But I've had no additional information to add to that either, so I still think Roxy pissing herself in fear was completely unnecessary. For one thing, and this may be the least point of all, it just didn't feel right for the character to me. That's just a personal opinion. Secondary to that, even Rudy points out that she clears entire labyrinths on her own. She's been part of multiple high-level adventuring parties. She crossed the Demon Continent, the most dangerous of all the continents, on her own. She's a badass. At worst, she's socially awkward and ran off at the idea of confronting Rougeard. As we say about Kigali in Gundam Seed, she's a woman of action. Having her piss herself only feels like it serves to heighten her damsel in distress situation. The most I'm willing to give the scene is that the show likes to play its characters as having realistic foibles, like all of Rudy's issues he's had to overcome. But I see Rudy and Roxy in very much the same light. If Rudy had pissed himself when fighting Orsted, I'd be as equally put off by the sudden shift in characterization. I feel like that's all I'm going to say on that matter, because I'm sure once this hits YouTube, people are going to be like, rabble-rousing against me, because the same way that I handled the whole how does Rudy treat slavery issue. But again, I don't see any reason for this. Unless, the same way that Rudy was having to deal with erectile dysfunction, like if Roxy's now dealing with incontinence. But I just don't see that happening. I see this as, oh, Rudy's a badass, and we need to show how badass he is. Even Roxy would piss herself in this situation. So if we have Rudy rescue her now from that, it's like, oh, come on. Stop jerking the character off and just let him, let him find his mom, whatever he's doing. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Even though I went off and said a whole new tangent. Anyway, more ammunition for the comment section. Anyway, I think that is it for my notes. As I said, nothing's changed on the board, so no reason to go back over that. No comments. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Is this what she was up to when she was by herself? How does that even happen?
何度繰り返しただろうか。目の前の魔法陣でたどり着く先はいつも違うのに、最終的にここに戻ってきてしまう。
Yeah, but I mean, why would you keep making the same X on the wall that you've already made?
きっと次はない。私はまだ何もしていない。夢だってある。私は教師になりたい。そしてお父さんとお母さんみたいに人並みの幸せを感じてみたい。
Okay, yeah, same mark on her
私
cheek.
は死ぬ。夢が叶うことなく惨めに死ぬだろう。
I guess
見たくない。
the real downfall here is that this place is filled with an infinite number of bugs and monsters.
ああ、よかった。
I feel like as he's gotten older, his future sight eye has become progressively more and more noticeable. Oh, that's right. I forgot my student was exactly like Pax.
あれ、
すみません、ちょっと臭いので。
臭いですか？
違います、私がですよ。1ヶ月もこんなところにいたので。
俺は気にしませんよ。
I guess you were eating
私が気に
spiders.
するんです。いえ、そうではなく。助けていただいて
But she
あ
can
り
create
がとうござい
water,
ます。
but I don't know where the
当
food
然のこと
was.
をしたまでです。
はじめまして。私の名前はロキシー・ミグルディアと申します。できればお名前を聞かせていただけないでしょうか。
はじめまして。
Just think a random stranger ran up and hugged
ど
you?
こかでお会いしましたか。覚えていなくて。
覚えていない。
Ouch. The fuck is... I'm sorry, guys. I gotta... The voice actor going for that sound effect. I can't wait to hear that one in English. See what the English VA decided to do with that. I know I mentioned this a lot in me and Lessons reactions to Gundam that I watch and react to the show in Japanese, and then when I go to take my notes, I listen in English. Because, you know, it's the best opportunity I have to watch both versions. Because obviously, if I'm rewatching it, I'm probably not going to watch it again for the third time without any good reason to do so. So that's when I make my commentary notes about, oh, I like it when they, this changed, when the voice actors did this versus that, or how, like, they say love in English and they don't seem to a lot in Japanese. Or how I hate it in English, how, the cat girls say preggers. It's like, oh god, that was a fucking weird change. But yeah, I guess last time Roxy saw him, he was smaller than her. So, you know, obvious difference.
久しぶりに会ったロクシーはあまり変わっていなかった。ただかなり衰弱していたため一度町に帰ることにした。
すみません、タルハンドさん。ご迷惑をおかけします。
Yeah, I'm glad they're not just like progressing. Because the thing to do would obviously be take her back to the village and let her rest.
相当かと思いますが。
それはロキシー師匠に会えたことへの嬉しさと忘れられた悲しみに挟まれて。
忘れてたわけじゃないんですよ。ただ昔の可愛いルディと今のルディが結びつかなかっただけです。
いきなり吐いたのが失礼だったな。でも本当にショックだったのだ。
I don't know, maybe she's into
そういえば
twinks?
シルフィーも俺に初めましてと言われてショックを受け
Because,
た
you
と言
know,
って
he
た
was
な。
a skinny little
帰ったら
kid,
ちゃんと謝
and
ろう。
then now he's working out all the time.
ロキシーの帰還に皆歓喜した。原因はどうあれ、嬉しいことは嬉しいのだ。ロキシーには体力の回復を待つために数日の間安静にしてもらった。
You're a married man with a kid on the way. Don't
早
fucking
く
do
良くなる
anything
といい
weird.
な
Okay, thank God.
おはようございます、ロキシー師匠。
皆さん、この度はお手数をおかけしました。
気にしないでくださいまし。
ま、礼ならルディに言ってくれ。こいつが突然、父さん、神の気配がしますって壁をぶち抜いて走り出さなきゃ見つけられなか
I
った
mean,
だ
to
ろ
be
うから
fair,
ね
his first visit into the labyrinth, and he already saved somebody.
ありがとうございました。
気にしないでください。当然のことですから。それより前みたいにルディって呼んでください。
そんな呼び方をして慣れ慣れしくはありませんか。
そんな師匠にルーデウスさんなんて呼ばせるぐらいなら父さんにもルーデウスさんと呼ばせますよ。
おいこら、なんだそりゃ。
以前のように親しみを込めて呼んでください。
I mean, to be fair, you've been worshipping her panties all this time. She hasn't been doing anything for you, as far as we know.
はい、そうですね、ルディ。
はい、師匠。
身長大きくなりましたね。
人族ですからね。師匠はお変わりないようで。
ちっちゃいままです。
言うほどちっちゃくはないと思いますけどね。
そうですか。
Yeah, it does have that whole problem of like fantasy races, right? Same thing as like vampires, essentially.
ロキシーは早いうちに迷宮に入り直した方がいい。
ああ、そうか、なるほど。確かにそうだな。
師匠にはもうしばしの休養が必要なのでは。
先輩は知らねえかもしれないが、迷宮で死にそうな目にあった時にすぐに入り直さねえと、二度と迷宮に入れない呪いがかかっちまうのよ。
呪いか。おそらくこの世界のトラウマみたいなものだろうな。
Is it?
とりあえず、
I mean, it is fucking magic. Maybe there actually is a curse.
展開次第だが、最低でも第4階層への魔法陣を見つけるまでは潜ろう。
はい。
ロキシーはこれを読んでおいてくれ。ルディが持ってきた転移迷宮の本だ。
へえ、こんなものが。わかりました。明日あたり熟読しておきましょう。
よし。じゃあ全員3日
I
後
mean,
に
legitimately, everyone who can read should be able to read that book. Same pages that Geese was reading.
ルディ、
何ですか師匠。
目の前をうろうろされると気が散ります。
Have you told her that you got married and about to have a kid?
暇ならこの本でいくつかわからない点があるので教えてください。
何でも聞いてください。
The bug eyes, I love the bug eyes.
それなら詳細がこちらのページに書かれていますよ。
ああ、それにしてもロキシーは本当に小さいな。膝の上に乗せればすっぽりと包めてしまいそうだ。乗せたら怒られるんだろうな。
モンスターはどうしました師匠。
いえ、なんでもないです。
いつの間にか背丈も随分越してしまったからな。悔しいのかもしれない。背が低いこと気にしてる
If I
みたいだ
didn't
し。
know better, my guess would be maybe she could read minds. But, you know, she can't. So it makes her unique amongst her village. But if she somehow learned to be able to do it, reading Rudy's thoughts.
終わりだな。
そろそろ魔力切れです。休憩をお願いします。
おう。さて、そろそろ第4階層への魔法陣が見つかってほしいもんだな。
ペースアップしたいところですね。
だからってまた壁をぶち抜かないでくれよな。崩落しちまうし。
分かってますよ。
ルディ、
はい。
ちょっと背中を貸してもらっていいですか。
どうぞ。
It's
それ
good
にしてもルディと
to have these two
冒険に
together
戻ること
again.
になるとは思って
Don't
も
get
い
me
ません
wrong.
でした。
I love it.
そうですね。
It's the old gang. But for me, it's like the Deldona
何ですか。
girl.
ゼニスさんを助け出して余裕ができたら 二人で迷宮に潜りませんか？
二人でですか？
The thing that Human God said before.
本来迷
I
宮
don't
探索
want
は面
Rudy
白いものです。
cheating
も
on
っと
so
簡単
fat
な迷
or
宮
having a harem
に
or
二
anything
人で
like
潜
that.
ってみませんか？
いいですね。帰ったら二人で潜りましょうか。
約束ですよ。
ええ、約束です。
眠気がきました。
Rudy,
ちょっと
if you haven't said
寝
it, you
ます。
really need to tell her about your family.
勢いで返事をしてしまったが、子育てとかもしないといけない俺にそんな時間はあるのだろうか。まあ余裕ができたらでいいか。
There's always an element of when a main character puts something off, it becomes a problem.
よし、じゃあ第4階層の雰囲気を確かめてから一旦戻るぞ。
仕事してる時のパウロはかっこいいな。
ルディ、敵だ。
ストーンキャノンで先制します。
ルディ、いけません。アーマードウォーリアーは水神流の技を使うと聞いています。迂闊に魔術を放てばカウンターが飛んできます。
ではどうすれば？
足を止めて援護に徹しましょう。
Well, technically somebody else could use magic, and Rudy's good at countering magic, so Rudy could counter that magic.
パウロ、私が左をやりますわ。
わかった。お前はいつも左だよな。
壁側に剣があるとやりにくいんですのよ。
That's good detail.
わがままかよ。
ルディ、エリナリーゼさんを援護しましょう。
It's always great when they think about characters long enough to give them that sort of attention to detail.
アイスクレンチ。
ストーンキャノン。
さすがに永久ともなるとすぐには倒せねえな。
父さんもしかして前より強くなりました？
あ？いや、そんなことはない。昔より弱いぐらいだ。さあ、油断しないで行くぞ。
Oh no. They're expressing the fact that time takes a toll on you. Funny.
迷宮攻略は町と洞窟を行ったり来たりしなきゃならない。でもこんなにのんびりしていて、
So that means that if this show does go on for a long time, that means Paul's gonna get old and decrepit.
いや、
I'm drawn to Paul. I'm already getting old and decrepit. I don't need my virtual version to do the same thing.
さすが迷宮都市ラパン。なんて持っているな。
スクロールを一枚作れば。
Pretty sure they call it the Labyrinth City because it sits right next to a giant labyrinth.
それは頼もしいですね。アーマードウォーリアー相手なら地面に油でも撒けばいいんじゃないですか？
それではパウロさんが転んでしまいますよ。あ、ルディ、タルフロの根ももらいましょう。
はい。
エリナリーゼさん用に良さそうですね。
で、お値段は？
高っ！
Well, I mean, if it was better than her existing sword, you'd think she would buy it herself if she really wanted it.
ただ、ルディとすれ違ったと気づいたのはだいぶ後でしたけどね。
家族のために師匠が創作に動いてくれて嬉しいです。
パウロさんたちにはとてもお世話になりましたから。魔法大学で師匠と喧嘩別れした後、仕事も行くあてもなかった私を快く受け入れてくれました。それに当時の私は舐められないようにと。
That's a weird design. So I assume that you put that into the holder thing so that it sits up straight. So why wouldn't you make just a flat bottom cup?
私は身の丈を思い知ったんです。何せ一つ教えると工夫して10にも20にもするような弟子でしたからね。
師匠の教えの賜物です。
おかげで魔術を勉強し直して水曜級になり、性格も少し大人になったと仲間に褒められたりもしました。
Yeah, see,
です
it's
から
weird.
上野村での2年間は私にとって大切な思い出です。
はい。
ゼニスさん、救い出しましょうね。
はい。
Getting plenty of opportunities to tell her about your family and your kid.
この部屋で第4階層の魔法陣は最後だ。
第4階層はあっさりと突破できたが、ゼニスの姿はやはりない。
本の通りだ。タルフロの根は使えるぜ。
よし、じゃあ戻らずこのまま行くぞ。
了解。
Ooh, big little open area. Arena or trap? Just a bunch of
こ
teleportation
の雰
things.
囲気はそうだな。
気を引き締めないといけませんね。
この本の主はこれ以上攻略できてないみたいだな。
手伝います。
おう、助かる。
今まで何度も踏んできた双方向の魔法陣と酷似しているが、本によるとランダム転移するらしいんだよな。
I mean, does the book say why that guy stopped here?
いえ、さっぱり。七星なら分かったかもしれませんが。
もしかしてルディの恋人ですか？
七星がまさか。
Tell her about your
どう
wife.
だ、何か分かったか。
いや、ダメだ。
本に書いてあることが事実なら、一つは罠なので。
I guess there's one thing Rudy hasn't learned yet to do is to read the room or people.
二択かよ。
二択ですのね。
二択か、まったく。
何かあるんですか？
ジンクスだよ。二択はギレーヌに選ばせなきゃ失敗するってな。
結論を出すのは待ってもらえませんか？もう少し調べてみたいんです。
よし。
Yeah, it's a shame Ghislaine ain't here. But, you know,
そう
with
だ。
Eris.
何か引っかかるのだ。この部屋の雰囲気を見れば特別な場所なのは確かなんだが。
Shame there's no, like, locating spell or something. So you, like, cast locating spell on a rock and then throw the rock into the teleportator.
もしか
Teleportator.
すると、
The
ここは
teleporter.
この階層の終点ではないという考えが浮かびました。実は別のルートがあるとか。
そりゃねえな。終点はここで間違いねえよ。
根拠？
ない。ま、焦ることはない。一人で答えを出そうとするなよ。
はい。
ああ、それとな、ルディ。一言言いたいことがあったんだが。
何ですか？
あ、いや、これは今はいいか。宿に戻った
Except that Roxy clearly knows what you're talking about her now.
そういうの死亡フラグって言うんですよ。
なんだそりゃ。今言うとパーティーの式に関わるんだよ。
説教の類ですか？
まあな、似たようなもんだ。
Legit, just fucking tell her.
俺は今二振りの剣を使っている。以前は一振りで十分だったが、今はこの二振りがないとしっくりこない。どちらも愛着があるし、役割が違う。ま、
One kills monsters, one kills people.
この部屋、どこかで見た。つい最近だ。そして何かが足りない。そうだ、ここは転移魔法陣の遺跡に似ている。
銀さん、
This doesn't look like that room at all.
なんだ。
この辺りに隠し階段がないか探してみてください。
ああ、いや、あり得るのか。おい、あるぜ先輩。この下に空洞が。
床を壊して問題ありませんか？
Legitimately, if there's like any flow of water, it could have just seeped between the bricks.
ここだ。
and worn away at the ground underneath. I mean, I understand that he's right. I'm just saying that it doesn't automatically mean that there's stairs.
先輩が隠し階段を見つけてくれたぜ。やるな。
さすが俺の息子だった。
そういえばここ転移魔法陣の遺跡に似てますものね。
落ち着けよ。罠があるかもしれねえ。先輩、スクロール3枚ぐらいよこしてくれよって。
Well, you won't have hiccups.
お疲れ様ですと。
よっしゃ、先に行くぜ。みんな気を引き締めろよ。
Oh, sorry, I had the name of this episode wrong in my head. It was to the 6th stratum. I was like, this episode can't end. We're not at the 6th stratum yet. Well, there you go. And as I always say, really late into these reactions, I record these live on Fridays at 11 a.m. EST, or that's when I start. So when I say something random, sometimes it's in reaction to the chat, and in this case I'm responding to Alex, who says, they explained to me that Mushoku Tensei, Rudy's story, is just the prologue, and the real central story is with his descendants. So they'll do something like JoJo's, I think. And I'm only responding to this mainly for the last sentence, that they'll do something like JoJo's. I don't like JoJo's. And here's the thing, I don't like JoJo's for 2 reasons. One, I watched the first season and I fucking hated it. And everyone's like, yeah, the first season sucks. Well, you know, it is what it is. 2, I also hate JoJo's because everyone tells me to watch JoJo's. And that's a peer pressure sort of thing that I don't like. The only way I'm watching JoJo's is if one of the gold tier patrons tells me to. Not watching it on my own. Ominous. Don't know what it means. I mean, the obvious interpretation is parents, and that Paul's here. We're at the teleportation circle to the 6th stratum, so Zenith should be there. We've seen in the opening that there is a Zenith-like looking like person controlling a Hydra, attacking them. So could be that element, but again, the fear that I put out there at the beginning of the episode, my notes, that Zenith might not be coming back with us, and then to invoke parents as the name of the episode doesn't really feel like a great serve towards me being wrong. But then again, at the same time, I've also invoked that Paul might not be coming back alive before I invoked Zenith not coming back alive. So I don't really seem to have a lot of high hopes here for one of the 2 parents coming back. Obviously, I've pivoted toward Zenith not coming back. We have Rudy set up to have a kid. He is married, Sylphet. We have the good life now, right? I mean, other than the fact we have to rescue his mom. I don't see any good reason to pull a will they, won't they with Roxy. Especially because they spent like 3 days together at the inn, where he could have talked about his backstory at any moment in time. Instead of like thinking about how to put her in his lap, or, you know, obviously her asking if I was that other girl her girlfriend. Like, that's... Even Rudy, as dumb as he is sometimes, should be able to figure this out. And this leans back to my I don't want Rudy to have a harem thing. Paul got a harem, and the only reason Paul has a harem is because Rudy tried to save Paul's ass by not getting him kicked out of the house after Lilia honeypotted him, basically. even though Paul's backstory is something of disgust. It's just also the element of the fact that Human God puts out there that, hey, sleep with the cat girls and have kids with them. I don't want that. Here's the problem now that I'm facing is Alex is also mentioned that what they didn't tell me is if those descendants, his children or grandchildren, or his distant descendants, like 100 years later. Because the implication is if this is about Rudy's kids, and then Human God is saying, hey, it would be really great if you had kids with a lot of different people. And again, the impetus being that I'm being told in the comments by Alex that the idea is it's about his kids, and Human God wants him to have a lot of kids. Something's going on there. But my concern here and now is the present, with Rudy as the character that we've been with the whole time, that I don't want. I don't know. I'm in a weird place. If Human God is plotting for the future, and this really does feel a lot like a Doc Brown situation, right? Come back for Back to the Future 3. We gotta do something, Marty. We gotta do something about your kids. That if Human God is planning the future of everything, and that he needs Rudy to have descendants with these people and those people in order to make things happen down the line, then that's a completely different perspective to take on the show or the story, and to try and figure out what Human God is up to and for what. Like, is this Human God's plan in the long term to defeat everyone, or I don't know. I don't know, and it is very much a different conceit to the narrative, right? Although this could be one of those things like there's a YouTube channel, and I don't remember the name, so I apologize if I don't know if that guy ever shows up and watches one of my videos for some reason, but there is a guy who makes videos about how wonky the perspective is of a movie or a book's narrative if you watch it from the bad guy, what he's up to. Like how crazy Lord of the Rings is from Sauron's perspective, say. That we are watching the show through the narrative of Rudy, and obviously our perspective is very much in the now, right? Our perspective with Rudy is very much always in the now. But if we take a step back and then we watch the whole series from the perspective of Man God, and we try to figure out what Man God's goals are. Sorry, I'm reading Alex's comments as I'm talking out loud. I still call him Human God. If we try to take Human God's perspective, what is Human God up to? What does Human God need with a starship? Sorry. What does Human God need with a multi-generational Rudeus family? What does he earn from this? What is he trying to put people into positions to do with this? But the fact is that we're still in one generation of a Rudy family, which is to say, Rudy himself. So, I don't think that we can figure this out until we actually have descendants of Rudy to mess with things. So, yeah, that said, I don't think I have a lot to go with here. It is interesting. Obviously, I've never read the manga to know what happens there or what descendants there might be. I'm hoping it's just with Sylvie. I'm hoping that that's all that there is. I don't want a harem anime with Rudy. Rudy can be as horny as he wants to be. I don't want an atypical harem anime starring Rudy, especially not going into 3 seasons of it. Anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and call it there. I've rambled on now about the concept of descendants and Human God and whatever the hell's going on. I'll obviously have more to say when we get to the next episode, and I've taken all my notes down. But I think I'm going to leave it there. So, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?